Edition of the Coach and the Scribe. Yeah, see, I went Coach and the Scribe today, Jess.
Got me first. All right.
You are first. You're the glue that holds this thing together. Great game we saw here tonight between Cranberry and Clarion. Clarion pulls out at 4 or 6 points. I think it was 6 points by the time that shot was hit at the end of the game. But really, the story of the game was Clarion's free throw shooting. I mean, they almost couldn't miss. 2 or 3 free throws the whole night they missed.
And it was when those missed free throws happened. Was it late in the fourth quarter? I mean, they were perfect from the line almost the entire game, and that is the difference in the ball game tonight.
How hard is it for a player like Kate Constantino to go 22 of 24 from the free throw line? I mean, you even see kids go into practice and, even ones that are great in practice miss a couple. And, I know coaches are always like, oh, well, so-and-so was like 50 of 50 in practice. Well, practice is different than a game environment. I mean, you're not sometimes as tired. You don't have the pressure you're feeling. To do what she did tonight was just amazing to me.
Well, so many times you go to the line after sprinting, 100 feet down, making a layup or trying to make a shot. You got to collect yourself, get your breath. You have a hostile crowd, people yelling, screaming. Caitlin, in your interview with her, said, she just uses that. And boy, did she use it tonight. It was incredible. But even when you're hitting all those shots, sometimes in your mind, you're like, uh-oh, I'm perfect. Oh, you keep going. And sometimes you almost,
psych yourself out. Yeah, you psych yourself out in
Absolutely.
a situation like that. Just to be able to, when maybe the other team's taken away what you're trying to do, to get to the free throw line as much as they did, how important is it to be able to find ways to score points?
Mike and I talked about it. When they are either face guarding or going box and one to try to keep the ball out of Caitlin's hands, those other young girls had to step up. KK hit a couple shots. Peyton Simcoe hit a couple shots. Sure, they missed them. But that's what it's going to take, and those girls need to learn that and evolve and grow as basketball players, because looking at what Caitlin Constantino brings to the table, every team they face is going to try to take her away in some form or another, so those other girls have to step up.
Defensively, I really thought that was a difference for Clarion. When they started pressuring the basketball, they were able to turn Cranberry over, and they were able to turn those turnovers into points. I know as a coach, you guys always emphasize that games are won on the defensive end, but I think we've seen that in the last couple of nights in games that we've done, that when maybe the offense isn't as good as maybe you hope it is, that defense can really be a game changer.
Oh, so many times. And Caitlin said it, obviously, again in your interview, that this is probably one of the fastest teams that Coach Walter has ever had. And, you look at Eva Lurch, Jordan Best, Caitlin, KK Gervin. KK Gervin had, what,
five steals,
right.
6 steals in the game.
So you look at them, and you've got to take advantage of that. And I think Coach Walter's done a nice job. But they used that momentum. And they took steal after steal after steal. Now, maybe they didn't get a layup out of it, but they got a good possession, got to the line, and, of course, did the damage from the line.
From Cranberry's perspective, I was really impressed with the game that Kaylee Bruce played tonight. I really thought she saw the court well. I thought she pushed the issue when she needed to push the issue. I really felt like she's part of the reason that they were in this game all the way down.
She is a fantastic player. I mean, she offensively, defensively, you said about being the glue. She's kind of the glue that holds them together. She does all the little things that you need to do to be successful. She pushed the ball, drawing the defense to her, dropped it down to Dean a couple of times for an easy basket. That's all on her. She doesn't get the credit for the points, of course, but she gets credit for the assist, for the Dean for the bucket. And she really kept Cranberry in this game.
You can understand the frustration from the Cranberry side in terms of how they felt the game was officiated. I know that you've been in those positions as a coach. Yeah, I know but no, seriously. But how do you find the fine balance between trying to work the referees and trying to keep your team from not getting too hyped up into what's happening on the court? And that's probably the trick that most coaches struggle with sometimes, isn't it?
I struggle with it tremendously. And, you coach the game with passion. We saw it last night with Coach Sherman. But those things definitely wear on you as a coach. They wear on you as a player. And, you look at it, and you can't let it bother you. I know that that's a cliche. You've got to ignore, what the referees called. It's their call. No matter what they blow the whistle, they're not going to change what they called. What you can do is how you handle it. How do you respond to it as from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, and then you take that, you put it away. It's in the past. You forget about it, and you move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the ones that bother me the most when I watch a girls' basketball game is that they don't allow them to fight for the basketball like they would in a boys' game. And I think that then tends to lead to fans and other people getting upset. And understandably so, because sometimes you see games, if you're watching a boys game, if this had been the Clarion versus Cranberry boys game, I don't know if there would have been as many fouls that were called. That sometimes a girls game gets called a little tighter. And so I think that starts to frustrate people a little bit when they see so many fouls called. And so I'm not asking you for an opinion. I'm just giving my thoughts here. I think that tends to lead to some of what we see in terms of crowd reaction and player reaction and things like that as well, because it doesn't quite go the way that you want it to go. Moving back to Clarion's side, they had lost so many close games this year in the early going. How important is it for them to get a big win in a close game?
It's very important early in the season. We were talking earlier, they're both in the South. It's very important for them to not only be down 13-2 in the first quarter, but then to rise above that, not panic, come back, get this early win, going into the nice long break that everybody's going to have. But it gives them confidence. Those young players, if they would have been able, or if something would have happened and they would have lost this game, it starts to wear on you. Oh, we're playing so hard, we're so close, we just can't get over the top. They got over the top on this one, and that really will be a lot of confidence.
Well, you talk about the KSAC South, and obviously Red Bank and Keystone, I think, are the top two teams. But I'm not going to be surprised if somebody wins this South with a loss or two.
Sure, I looked at we watched the Red Bank game the other night here. And Clarion gave them everything they could handle. And looking at, and that's a very good Red Bank team. Now, we watched the North last night. We saw, North Clarion struggle for most of the game, but then really turn it on in the fourth quarter. I think that Clarion, using this win, really can propel them moving into the tournament stage, and then coming back in January when you really get into the grind of the season.
Well, Jess, thanks for another great edition of the Coach and the Scribe. And until after Christmas, folks, have a Merry Christmas out there, and be safe, as the governor likes to say.